Hi, welcome back to my walk-in wardrobe. As you can see, based on my surrounds, I am the 10th dentist, aka Dr. Amelia from Sydney, Australia, and today I am going to take you on a design with me journey. Neighbours are causing all kinds of sounds, so apologies in advance, but what can you do? Their entire retainer wall, which shut the fuck up, please. Their entire retaining wall at like 3 a.m. in the morning fell down, and it would have been tons of rock. Luckily, no one died because I woke up in the morning and I immediately called our chairman of our board of the building and said, you might want to call them because there's two old people who live down there. They survived. Everyone was okay, thank God. That's why you're hearing that in the background. So that's long story for a short answer. This video, if you want a quick answer, this is not the video for you. As I say with my long form, come design with me, I will take you through basically just my rationales of why I'm choosing certain things, how I'm doing certain things. I will include chapters for sections if you want to see that close up, but for the most part, today's case is a pretty straightforward one. This sort of case is the perfect case when you are beginning your design journey. Little tweaks. We're literally doing 2 laterals and 2 canine edges. Conservative, not reinventing the wheel. I think I might do a second design showing what it would look like if he did all 4 at the front, because I had this conversation with the treatment coordinator. I am going to set everything up because I don't want to obviously show his face. Leave it with me and I will be back with you in a second. I just remembered there's these great things called doors and you can close them. So that is what I have done. I hope the sound isn't as bad now. Okay, we are going to go projects. Start point for this, we'll do a smile design just because naturally that is how it works best in terms of gradiating through. Following that linear workflow. I am giving a lecture next Friday in Adelaide about Smile Cloud. I convinced them to have it at a polo game, but the payoff with that is that I have to talk at it. So it's possible in this case, I would say, obviously again, I'm not going to show you his face, but the face is on a little bit of a tilt, and I always harp on about this with the team. You want the little tragus, which is this part, ideally you want equal show both sides, because some people naturally have more asymmetrical faces and you can't really go off the facial soft tissues. But the only zone we're really interested in here are the front 6. Give me 1 second. I don't know what's up with this. Like the most basic thing that I'm struggling with. I just looked up how to delete dots, and it says that you should just be able to select them and hit delete, but my computer won't let me. I don't know whether that's a bug or whether it's a computer specific thing. It says that you should be able to reset it, but alas, no bueno. So I will actually write that down as a question. Add it to the list of things to do. Maybe later. Because that is one thing I will say about this software. I typically operate under the thought process that normally it's human error that is causing the troubles. But sometimes it is a little bit strange as well. And I find the tool, like information, the little pop-ups are helpful, but just like really fundamental things like deleting a dot, I do struggle with sometimes. I do find it very helpful to type into like a ChatGPT or a Grok what I'm struggling with, and typically from all the different forums it will come up. But I don't know, it's just a bit weird. I just feel like it shouldn't be that hard. So, fuck's sake. What is going on? Brother. Guarantee it's probably someone's tried to log in on it at work. And then I'm going to tell them to get off. Alright, I like this lateral on the left. No, I think it's kind of nice. Look, I think it really depends on whether he does decide to do something with these centrals, because at the moment the way that they're worn flat, I would not be completely comfortable doing like a nice youthful rounded distal corner on his existing. So I'll pick a more angular one that has like almost a cousin that makes it a bit easier to be able to flip it into other circumstances. And just mucking around here, really just getting a nice start point. That is another thing that I do need to look into. How to include stacked photos. I know you can do it in the actual 3D design aspect, but it would be handy at this point in time as well. And we're going to take out our little vertical lines. Bring that down a touch. Bring that down a touch as well. What am I going to do with... Get rid of that. Don't need that. You go away as well. And you go away. I feel like with the edges, I want something that's not too pointy. Ooh, that's a bit fugly. Something that's not too pointy and something that we can use to just add. I kind of feel like that's probably a better option. This point with this case, I actually probably wouldn't show to the patient because I don't personally love how it's looking. But what I would do is use it as a jump off to be able to just quickly sort of have a look at some different shapes like I'm doing right now. It's possible. I'm just going to move on to create blueprint now. Segmentation's definitely really... I'm like, oh, it's really improving. It's getting so much better. And then it's like, nah, that's not right. Computer says no. The reality is you're always going to get warping to some degree. I feel like we don't tend to get that much with our photographs purely because we aren't like right up in the face. We have the luxury of being able to sort of step back. I would say we're at least like 3.5, almost 4 meters away from them. at any given time, so you don't have that fisheye effect quite as much. I am not going to worry about a CBCT in this case, because this is really just a visualization tool for the patient. The patient. With the blueprint step, I will finesse the incisal a fair bit more. This stage, loading in the data, being the photograph for reference, the upper scan, and then the lower scan for opposition. This is the point where I would stack in like the classic DSD smile photo where you've got the retractors in and then you get them to take it out and get them to smile. That is helpful, just being able to see that gingival show a bit more, particularly because in a lot of cases, I'm not trying to be sexist, but for a lot of men, to be fair, women as well, but particularly men, you don't tend to see as much gingival show, nor do you necessarily want to. So in those cases, I guess I am still wanting to take that gingival edge into consideration, because ultimately that is going to impact the AI projected options around the clinical recommendations of what would be a suitable biological... What am I trying to say? You want something that's going to fit as closely as possible to anatomically what's there in terms of the cross-section of the root, and the gingival margins, or if you are going to change them, what they would look like eventually. So even though you can't see it, it doesn't mean that it's not important, is what I'm trying to get at. Yeah. This computer takes so long. The second screen on my computer's broken as well, and I need to take it in and get it fixed. But it's also finding the time. It's actually really hard. I'm thinking I'm going to limp it through until the end of the year. And then, like, the second last week, I will go in and give it to them, because I already know that they're going to have to send it out to be repaired. So, for that reason, at least then I have until the 18th of January, because I'm going to Argentina, and I'm like getting everything serviced, getting my loops serviced, getting my laptop fixed. All of the shit that you just don't have time for during the year. Let's go. Okay, so we're going to select 1, 3, 1, 2, shift key to select multiple, and then to deselect the 1, 1 and 2, 1 while keeping the others, hold down the control key on Windows. I don't know what it is on Mac. That's irrelevant at this point in time. Well, that was dumb. They're already all selected to be reshaped. So what we'll do is remove the things that we don't want reshaping. The arch form is not bad. I think very workable. Obviously this is sitting back more in the arch, so add a little bit of extra porcelain in that zone. Design. Let's go. I know we always talk about facially driven design. In this case, yes, it will be facially driven, but it's more, I feel, a bit more of a reference point, because we're working with a lot of landmarks that are already there that we can't really change. But at the same time, we should also be considerate of that. Let us get rid of the lower because we don't need that. So, let's get this sucker on the road. I will bring this one forward to get the angulations kind of right. Same with this. Get it into the curve of the smile. And once we've done sort of that gross, that needs to be a little bit bigger actually. Once we've done that gross positioning, then that's a chance for us to start looking at, okay, what do we want to do? What do we want to do? This is the beauty of being able to do this in-house though. I got a message this morning from our treatment coordinator. Oh, how long do you think it'll take to get this back? And I was like, well, I can have it done by close of business because I have nothing better to do. I was picking up a dress today that was being repaired. But speaking of which, that takes a fucking long time. I bought a dress from Zimmerman, which I'm going to assume that a lot of this audience that's watching this is probably not a Zimmerman woman. Anyways, the dress was not cheap. Like, it was not cheap. I wore it once, the strap broke. I've now sent it back. They're getting it fixed. And it's been like, by the time I get it, it will have almost been 3 weeks. I'm like, guys, I can design a whole smile in like the space of 2 hours. You can't stitch a fucking strap on within 3 weeks. I think we need to reevaluate whether we should be in the clothing industry. It's not the sales associate's fault, but I'm just like, god damn it. I think when you get so used, fuck's sake, I think when you get Control-Z will take you back if you get the wrong button. As I was whinging, I think when you get so used to a certain level of service within like the dental world, I'm not rude about it, but I do get very frustrated by subpar customer service. And subpar in the sense that, like, you're paying, yes, for the design, but also a premium service. And I expect that an $800 dress is going to last more than 12 hours. Are we reaching for the stars? I don't know. Anyways, that's my rant for today. It is what it is. I feel like I want something a little bit more. Worn. It's a little bit annoying because I don't love the worn look, but I think also it doesn't really do justice having a structure that is like this nice, I don't know. I don't like gravy. If you've watched Chicken Run, you'll understand that reference. What I'm going to do first, because I'm having an existential crisis about the laterals, I will wax up the canines first. With waxing canines up like this, it will be a lot of warping and just adjusting, sort of space occupying, if you will. So get the bones of the tooth pretty much in the right space. Yeah, happy with that. Yeah, that's actually looking pretty reasonable already. And to just get rid of these junctions, we'll jump into drag. Keeping it at a pretty decent sized drag. And then I'll reduce it down a touch just so that we can try and stretch it, blend it, smooth it. Let's reduce the size to do some smooth detailing. Because we are, oh my god. I was going to say we're a smooth operator, but clearly not. Yeah. Better. I think a little bit more drag will be beneficial there. Reduce that down even more. Yeah, that's pretty good. I'm not seeing like a massive junction there. And sometimes what I'll do once I 3D print this is I will actually take a clear, it's Optic Clear Glaze by GC, and I'll paint it over there. And it's just enough to sit in that sort of little junction, and it will make a really, really nice final friend. I love my lisp, it's just great. It's the best. Mirror. Mirror, mirror on the wall. Right, now we're going to be back to moving. Again, get the bones pretty much in the right spot. This canine is larger than the other, because that is nature. But we're not going to bother closing that space there, purely because it's not really a concern for him. And not to do so, it's just a bit too... Sorry, to do so just adds a lot more headaches to what we're doing. Because it's already wide as it is, we do not need a wider tooth. So with that lining, I like how that mesial looks. It all sort of is symbiotic together. So now we are going to drag, 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 because I am a drag. Just drag that in, reduce this a bit. I don't want to add too much height on this because obviously there's a reason why this has been worn down, and it's a little bit of something called his edge-to-edge bite. So we're just being kind, considerate, nothing too crazy. Might just add a little bit there. This is definitely not hit control to subtract as well, by the way. So it's not exactly keeping true to the biological design, but we're trying to find things that blend in. Oops. So that's looking better already. better already. Say that, and then I look at the centrals, and the centrals, because of the way that they're worn down, I feel that this needs to go up, and so same with the other side. Because yes, it's one thing to adjust it and make it look beautiful, but it's also another thing to actually execute upon that. Control Z is your best friend in life. Like, it gets me out of so many troubles. Alright, let's smooth that. And add. Drag is really good for preserving preserving within reason the fuck's sake, the anatomy of a specific better. Yeah, it'll stretch things out, so be mindful of that, because that can look kind of dumb sometimes. But yeah, it's good just to preserve. Yeah, that looks better. There's like this one little corner here, it's pissing me off. But I'm also mindful that any little bit of smoothing I do is going to wipe it off the face of the earth, so I'm turning it right down. Oh, that's so much better. Thank goodness. It's the little things in life, you know? Okay. F is the shortcut to take us back to where we need to be. I still feel like this needs to go up, but I think it's also somewhat the angulation. So what I will do is hit drag, crank it up a little bit. Yeah. See, that looks shorter, even though I haven't even shortened it. I've just adjusted the contour. And I guess it's something that, look, at the end of the day, once it's in the mouth, in context, we can adjust this a bit more. These canines are going to be resin tips. They're not going to be porcelain. The laterals, on the other hand, will be porcelain. Now back to my existential crisis of what do I do with these laterals? Get the angle right first and foremost. Yeah, that looks better. And same with this little snaggle tooth over here. Butter. So quad 2 will need a gingivectomy, most definitely. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do this one with laterals that match his centrals. And then I'm going to do one with centrals and laterals, and they'll be a bit more youthful and fresh. I think that's the ticket in this case. It's just too hard otherwise. These laterals are the sort of thing where you can spend so long looking at them, being like, maybe I could change this, maybe I could change that. And the reality is you'll never be happy. Wow, that's really out. That's also very twisted. A bit like my sense of humor, haha. I don't like it. It's like when you do designs and you're like, no, don't like it, not for me. Dislike, strong dislike. Let's look at the gingival discrepancy. I am just going to remember that I'm doing this, but I am going to polish that down because it's blocking the line angle, and we already know that we'll be removing some of that with a light brush stroke. Perfect. And gingiva. Shouldn't take very much, but just enough to make it look nicer. Now I kind of feel like this side needs a little bit of lasering as well. No, that looks dumb. Dum 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 dum. You know what? Just crisping this up a little bit. I'm going to do a very light gingivectomy on the centrals because at the moment I don't like them at all. This one's 2-1's probably okay, but definitely the 1-1 needs a little bit of help. You can manipulate the tissues a bit with these, which is good. Like gingival tissues and whatnot. Within reason, like. Drag, obviously, is a better choice in this option. Really not convinced, am I? I'm just using the hotkeys A, S, D, F to be able to just move around, and G is on and off for the gimbal. All right, let's put a pause on that. I am going to come back to that with fresh eyes, and I'm also going to send it to my colleague to get a proof to see whether he likes it or not. But I am now going to make a copy, and we're going to do the ideal. Okay, let's go. Now we get to add the centrals. Make me happy. Cool. Oh, that's good. So when we've made the copy, it's pretty much kept the centrals where I wanted. Sorry, not the centrals. The laterals where we wanted them. Stat, I'm going to change it to a shape that I actually like. I think it needs wider line angles on the laterals because the laterals, the gingival is a little bit higher. And so I just want to take away from that length, vertically speaking. Oh, that one's nice. I like that. Ooh, I like that one too. I'm going to mirror that one across. And then disregard, I've wasted too much time. Okay. So let's get this central right. Again, G for gimbal. Get it right in terms of the curve. And you also want to match the numbers. As you probably shouldn't have one tooth bigger than the other. I always find it truly amazing how quickly someone can pick up. Like, I could make one of these 0.2 and the other 0.3, and as soon as Farty sees it, but they're not the same size. And sometimes you try and gaslight him into thinking that they are. Nah, joking. But yeah. So if we were going to make any technical models of this, we would need to have a different original model re-added, because at the current stage we would end up with just not the right thing. Very nice. Now that is a lateral. That is a sexy lateral. Yes. What is my life? Get it. Whew. Yeah, I like that. Shh. I don't want to listen to everyone on WhatsApp. 8.3, so let's see if we can match. I find with laterals there's a little bit more lenience with asymmetry in terms of size, but where I can, obviously I try and make them the same. I hate laterals. Like, honestly, they are the bane of my existence. It is never quite right. There's a little bit of creative license required with this, because he does have an occlusal cant, and so it's one of those things where, yeah, you can go and put it exactly in the right facial frame, but it's not going to work in the context of his face. People often will talk about facial flow, and I think there's a lot of truth to that. It's just finding the flow that works for him. Sometimes there's not a lot you can do. That's looking way too buckle now. Way, way better. Okay, now let's tidy up the models. Go away. So with this, we're going to subtract. Oh my gosh. I promise I slept well last night. Just being sick of everyone's bullshit makes you tired, you know. Joking, hee hee. Nah, it's just that time of the year, hey. that Christmas push when everyone's like, oh, what's been happening? I'm like, work. Work. And then in between that, some play, because it's Christmas party season and everybody has a Christmas party. Not a bad problem to have, but it does get a little bit tiring after a while. That's stretched it out, but I feel like that line angle can come in a little bit. Remove. Oh my gosh, I selected the wrong thing. There we go. Okay, so for the last part here, you can see here how it's not really that crispy, it's a bit blobby. We're going to clean up those interproximal areas. Purely by dragging. It's a little bit better. Another thing you can also do is if I drop out the 3s, don't need that. I also don't need that. So you can see in that interproximal zone, that should not be there. So we're going to remove. That is way too large. Way too large, way too in charge. Perfect. Much, much cleaner. So those are the 2 ways you can do it. These centrals... Yeah, I will actually. I will adjust that. Not a lot, but just a little bit. We're talking like singular clicks. I'm not running my mouse up and down in any particularly aggressive way. Just enough to get it to sit back into its socket a little better. Same with this. Nope. One's in. 1, 2. I find in particular, again, not to single out the laterals, but normally the laterals is the area you have the most issue with that sort of bulbousness. I very rarely have met a lateral that I've liked off the bat. Perfect. Done. Done. Bang. And bang. Now that is almost a nice looking... Now that's a nice looking smile. Okay, so if I was going to print this, I would now export it as a combined singular file. I do the upper design, I would do the upper. But in this case, actually, I would do that if I was doing a provisional endpoint, or if I wanted to do a technical mock-up or just a mock-up in general, I would be adding the original model back into the stack, and then I would export it with that, so then you have the reduction areas. But we're not up to that part yet. So yeah, thanks for coming along my little journey of design. Any questions, chuck them in the comments down below. And on that note, I am going to keep doing life admin.